Hello, brethren. This is End Time Apostle, and this video is going to be about how to humble yourself before God, part 1. Okay? So, this is the verses that I have for you today. All right, here we go. Romans chapter 12, verse 3. First, so it says, "For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is asking you not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think." Oh, I keep doing that. Not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Right? So that's what it's saying. But to think soberly. As God has dealt to every man the measure of faith. Okay? So what he's saying now, for he say, okay, he's only saying this through the grace that was given on to him through God. Okay? So he's only saying that to every man that is asking you, okay? Alright, this is what they're asking, number one. Alright? They're asking you not to think of yourself more highly than he ought to think. Don't think you're better than everyone else. You don't want to think that, okay? You don't want to walk around with a self-inflated ego, okay? But this is what it is. But to think soberly. So you want to be in a sober mind. Just like I think it was I can't remember if it was 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 8 or chapter 5 verse 8. But it was to be sober, be vigilant. The devil, your adversary, the devil, walks around roaring like a roaring lion. I'm sorry. I might have scribbled that up, but that's what it was saying. To be watchful. Because he's always going to be watching for whenever either one of us slip up. You know, all you got to do is just give us that little bit of self-inflated ego or that little bit of pride or whatever it is. All it is just a little bit, anything that can get you away from what God is teaching and showing and telling us, he'll take that little bit and he'll try to drag you away forever. So we have to be very, very sober-minded and vigilant, okay? But it says, as God has dealt to every man. So God has given to every man, alright, has dealt to every man the measure of faith. So we all have the faith. We all have faith. It's just, are we going to humble ourselves and, strengthen this faith? Or are we going to just be disobedient and face the consequences that eternally that comes with it? I know I want to be obedient the best I can, and more. I want to keep growing in strength. All right? So for 1 Peter, it says, all right, this is instructions. All right, casting all your care upon him. All right? So it's telling you to cast all your care upon him. Okay? And it says to humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God. So like I was stating earlier, what humble in this content means is to do the will of God. You know, not what you want to do, but it's to come to God with open heart, open mind, open soul. All of you come with all your mind, all your heart, all your soul, and to ask and to request, which is supplication. Supplication is to request. All right, so you want to ask, you know, and you want to ask with all your might, you know, and ask that you, and then you want to receive ask for the Holy Spirit, because you ask and He will give. So you want to ask for the Holy Spirit, and just listen to how God instructs you. He always answers. Okay, so that's what you want to do. So you want to cast all your care. You want to do His will. You come to Him correct, you know, and He always answers. He always shows you. So once you give up what you, all right, you know, my way ain't working. I'm sorry, Lord, you know, and like you really, really mean it. Like you come to Him, He always guides you and fix you, but you got to be obedient. You know, you got to truthfully mean it, because He knows our hearts. Okay, so once you submit yourself, you know, once you submit, humble yourselves, you know, under the mighty hand of God, okay, that He may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon Him. So it says it again. So once you humble yourself or submit to God, you know, or be open to what His will is, to do His will, that He may exalt you in due time. Okay? All right, so that would say, let's say it again, to cast all your care upon Him. So it says it in the beginning, okay? And then it says it at the end, after it tells you to humble yourself. Okay? For He careth for you. Okay? So, you want to cast all your care upon Him. You want to humble yourself. Therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you, like reward you in due time. In due time. But you got to keep casting all your care upon Him, because He cares for you. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and highlight, these are the main things, and I threw in an extra verse here. Okay? So it says, number 1, for Romans chapter 12, verse 3, it says, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Okay? So this is a key factor to remember. Not to think of yourself more highly than anyone than you ought to think, period. You know, just like, okay, you know, today was your day that it worked out for you. You know, or today was the day that, you know, you were supposed to achieve this, because it could shift. All right? And then, but number 2, but to think soberly. You always want to be sober-minded, because the devil talks to you in your mind. He plants a seed, just like how just how God plants a seed, a mustard seed, plants a seed in you, and if you keep being obedient, that's throwing water on it, it grows. You grow righteous. But let's say if someone plants a seed of evil in you and you keep living in sin, well, it keeps growing evil, you know? And what happens? You either become righteous, or you teach yourself to be righteous, or not teach yourself, but you follow the instructions of God and with Jesus and to be righteous, or you fall into sin and you become distant and become a child of disobedience. Okay? So so if you are under the influence, you're more likely to give in to the temptation of evil. Okay? Because they already don't want us to be filled with drunkenness. You know, they didn't say we couldn't drink, but drunkenness is like I want to say it's like to be like a fool or foolish. To be like a fool. You don't want to be a fool, basically. You know. So 1 Peter, it says, all right, number 1, casting all your care upon him. So you want to, like I said, come to him, give him all your mind, your heart, your soul, your might, your attention. You know, you want to give it all to him. He got us. And then you make your supplication, which is request, onto him. And then just know that he got it. You know? Know that he heard you. Oh, that's another thing. It's in Matthew. I can't remember if it was in chapter 4 or in 5 or 6. I think it was in chapter 5. I will be covering that later on, but it was not to make vain repetition prayers. So praying for the same thing over and over again. All right, because he hears us when we're obedient. Okay, so you gotta just have that faith and trust him. Okay, just want to throw that out there. But number 2 is to humble yourself. You know, it's to be open to God's will, to submit to what he wants to tell us, what he's trying to tell us, what he's, guiding us through the Holy Spirit, okay? And to do his will, okay? So this is James chapter 4, verse 10. And it says, to humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. So I brought that up because, once again, it's telling you to humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. Well, that's the same thing as in 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 to 7. It says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. So I just wanted to show you that you humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, which is also, which could be under the mighty hand of God, and he will lift you up, just like he will exalt you in due time. So you see that, the word is true, through the period. So this is written by Peter and John. So James, and James, so this is just showing you that the promise of it, that if we stay obedient, we constantly come to him, pray always without ceasing, without stopping, make your requests, and pray for just to be grateful for everything, and be obedient. God hears us, But that'll be the ending of part 1 on how to humble yourself before God, part 1. I hope y'all get edified through this video, and I hope you gain knowledge, understanding, and we can turn this into wisdom. And let's practice these and all the others from previous videos every day as much as we can, constantly. Let's meditate on it. One love, one brethren. End time apostle out.